Good morning, welcome to my channel. My name is David Okon and I've been talking about the cost of living. Today we will be talking about the cost of living in terms of the United Nations. United Nations is an intergovernmental organization which actually is part of the global economic project. It is part of capitalism, it's part of the market system in a globalized sense. The United Nations actually promotes capitalism globally. The reason for linking United Nations with the cost of living is because the United Nations is actually the driver, the global driver of capitalism, and capitalism and the market economy is responsible for the cost of living. And this is because the capitalism concentrates wealth in the hands of the few, taking this wealth away from the hands of the many. And that is why there is the cost of living. Now, there is nothing wrong with capitalism. Capitalism is just an effective system which is actually efficient at promoting a program. Now, the program is the problem. The program is the problem because the people in power are, in the majority, are evil. They are evil in the sense that they are trying to kill people. Because if you take wealth away from people, you kill them. The majority of the population of the world is deliberately impoverished. And they are impoverished so that they can die. It doesn't matter whether the programmers know it or not. If you take away livelihood from people, people will die. Therefore, either they are doing it deliberately or they are reckless about it. It is criminal. The problem with the law is that it does not impact on people with power. And because you see, it is a humanitarian offense to keep people poor deliberately by a system of wealth. And that's why capitalism is evil, not because of capitalism, but not because of the program, but because of the people who run it. The majority of people in power who run capitalism, who run the United Nations. United Nations itself also is not evil. But the people designing the program, which is not evil, but the people are actually evil, the majority who are in power, who are running the world. And these are called capitalists. They are in the government, they are in the running the economy. They are running everything, everywhere, in religion, culture, and everything. So the answer to that question is to remove these people away from power and take their wealth away from them and replace them with people who value humanity. I wouldn't say there are people inherently good or inherently bad. People learn bad habits and they produce evil. And that's what is happening. The cost of living is the product of evil. And that's why I'm talking about it. I also talk about it because I believe we can change it. If the right people access power, whether they are poor or rich. How to be good is to learn the cultural economy. Something I'll put forward. Cultural economy means valuing human life. As simple as that. Interpret it from here, the way what we want is going to fit. And therefore, if we understand the concept that valuing human life is the answer to the cost of living, the cost of living is a symptom of lack of peace. We see it in Ukraine. Between Russia and Ukraine, that is evidence of peace. I have been looking through the history of the United Nations. Every system you look at it has been war. And that means we need to learn cultural economy to produce peace. That is the only way to bring peace. Development has succeeded, but it has succeeded to deepen injustice, to magnify evil with wars, including the cost of living, which is a form of warfare. We are going to look at the funding of the United Nations. If you watch this video, watch with the other videos. I've been talking about the cost of living within different contexts. Today, I'm talking about the context of the United Nations. I'm talking about the context of its funding. I'm looking at why it's funded. And if you haven't subscribed to my channel, and thank you to everybody who have subscribed to my channel, and people who have been supporting the channel and sharing with family and friends and watching the videos and clicking like, clicking notification bell, and if you haven't done so, do so to support this channel, and leave a comment below. And the top 25 contributors to the United Nations budgets for the period of between 2019 and 2020 are member states such as the United States of America and contributing companies. The percentage in budgets of the United States contribution is a percentage of the UN budget from the United States is actually 22%. China is 12%, Japan 5.6%, Germany 6%, 8.6%, Japan, Germany 6%, United Kingdom 4.5%, France is 4.4%, Italy is 3.3%, Brazil is actually 2.9%, Canada 2.7%, Russia is 2.4%, South Korea is 2.2%, Australia is 2.2%, Turkey, Spain is 2.1%, Turkey is 1.3%, Netherlands is 1.3%, Saudi Arabia, Mexico is 1.2%, Saudi Arabia is 1.1%, Switzerland is 1.15%, Argentina is 0.9%, Sweden is 0.9%, India is 0.8%, Belgium is 0.8%, Poland is 0.8%, Algeria is 0.7%, Norway is 0.7%, other member states is 12%. The United Nations budget for 2022 was 3.1 billion, not including additional resources donated by members such as peacekeeping forces. So these are actually nation states giving money to the United Nations to promote its agenda. And so it's necessary for everyone to understand how the system works. But like I said, we don't blame the United Nations. We cannot blame capitalism. We have to actually pay attention to the people who are running the system, because they are poorly educated culturally. And that's why they don't value human life. And that's why they're trying to kill people using tools of society, depriving the majority of the population of accessing resources, and every evidence is there. The behavior of the people in power is clear. You just only have to produce the correct context to provide a robust system of learning. And this is what I'm trying to do here. And for those who want to keep quiet, let them keep quiet. Because you see, if you don't speak and then you lose that right of freedom of speech, there are people around the world, including in the United Kingdom, are sitting there waiting for the government to do something for them. The government is not going to do something for you. The only thing the government is going to do for you is to destroy your life. Because you see, the majority of people in power are actually rude. They are violent. They are inhumane. The current batch of humanity, they are inside. They are actually wolves. They are aliens. They are violent. They are vicious, and that's why there is a cost of living. And they will not allow you to speak. And that's why people don't speak. Because when was the last time you spoke to your MP or to your minister or to anyone? Nobody listened, because even if you speak to them, they're trained not to listen. And this should change. People who value humanity are there. Some of them are also multimillionaires and multi-billionaires. They are among the ruling class. They are good people are actually among the ruling class. Good people doesn't mean you are perfect. It only means you care about humanity. Humanity as an entity is your priority. That's the definition of goodness. There are a lot of people who are parading out there as being good people, but the policy they produce is evil. And that's why there's the cost of living crisis, nothing else. And the government is not going to correct it because people who are dominating the government are evil. This, if it doesn't change, they're going to use power to destroy themselves. They will destroy the ordinary, the poor first. The poor are actually about 95% of the global population. You work for a living, you're poor. If you think you are rich, then you can still listen to what I'm saying and speak to other poor people, even if you're not a good person. If you think money and wealth is more important than a human being, then you're a bad person. If you think that the environment is more important than the life of a person, you are actually an evil person and you're a monster. People like you should be put into prison. However, they are not going to go into prison because the law is being corrupted as well. The legal system is being corrupted by people in power who are set to destroy people. They have a lot of hatred for humanity. They are insane. They are psychopaths. And so the war is just not for the survival of the poor. I'm not saying poor people are all of them good people. There's a lot of evil people among poor people, and they're suicidal. You see, they're not going to tell of the government because the government is punishing people. Every single policy is designed to destroy humanity. The cost of living is an example. Because cost of living should be resolved within a week, globally. Poverty should be eradicated within a year, globally. There is so much wealth, and there's no answer. There is no reason why anybody in the modern world should be poor. And this is not complicated. It is complicated because there are people who are actually deliberately determined to destroy humanity using wealth. Wealth is a new weapon now in the hands of evil individuals who, unfortunately, are the ones controlling the world. They're in power, and we need to find a way to get rid of them from power and replace them by people who are good. Measurement of people are actually the way they behave. If they value humanity over and above any other thing, then they are good people. They can be trained. It doesn't matter how poor or rich they are. They can be educated to work sensibly. But as I speak now, it's probably now becoming too late because these evil people who are in power are going to destroy humanity, beginning with poor people who work for a living, who are now suffering the cost of living, will be destroyed first. And then, because they are actually highly schooled at destruction and evil, they're going to destroy themselves without even knowing it. They're going to destroy the world without knowing it. Because they behave like aliens who are actually psychopathic. They look like humans, but they're actually like aliens, like wolves. Like, even wolves are clever because they look after their own. These people are actually like creatures from other planets. They are so dangerous. They are so vicious. They are in the conservative parties of the world. They are, among of them, actually on the right wing, and they are so vicious. They are actually not. I'm not saying every conservative or in terms of politics. I'm not saying every conservative or every labor or every socialist or every capitalist is evil. But individuals who may be campaigning for environment, maybe they are campaigning. There is nothing wrong with creating wealth. There's nothing wrong with looking after people. If you look after your people, you are described as your socialist. If that is your priority, then socialism is good. I'm not saying socialism is good because there is no evidence that socialists are actually looking after people as a priority. I'm not saying look after people, look after wealth, but the priority is what makes a difference. You look after wealth, you look after human beings. In the way you think, you should look after wealth and human beings and look after the world. But as long as humanity is not your number one priority, you are evil. And step aside. Otherwise, you're going to destroy other people. You're going to destroy yourself. You're going to destroy everyone if you have power. And that's the risk now we have. It's poor education. It is recklessness. It's negligence goes out of control. We are destroying the world. We are so insane. We have to stop and begin to, rediscover our human value. If you don't have anything to do with humanitarian values, stop. Especially if you have a multimillionaire in government or in business. And so we are looking at the budget of the United Nations. The United Nations budget for 2022 was 3.1 billion, not including additional resources donated by members such as the peacekeeping forces. The United Nations is financed from assets and voluntary contributions from its member states. The General Assembly approved the regular budget and determined the assessment for each member. This is broadly based on the relative capacity of each nation to pay as measured by its gross national income (GNI) with adjustment for external debt and low per capita income. The Assembly established the principle that the United Nations should not be unduly dependent on any one member or to finance its operations. Thus, there is a ceiling rate setting the maximum amount that any member can be assessed for the regular budget. In December 2000, the Assembly revised the scale of assessment in response to pressure from the United States. As part of that revision, the regular budget ceiling was reduced from 25% to 22%. For the least developed countries, the LDC's ceiling rate of 0.01% is applied. In addition to the ceiling rate, the minimum amount assessed to any member nation or flow rate is set at 0.01% of the UN budget, $31,000 for the 2-year budget between 2021 and 2022. A large share of the United Nations expenditure addresses its core mission for peace and security, and this budget is assessed separately from the main organizational budget. Now, when the core of the United Nations mission is focused on peace and security, and there is no peace and security at all, if there was any peace and security, we wouldn't have the cost of living crisis. The cost of living crisis is evidence of lack of peace and insecurity in the globe. So the work of the United Nations is in vain. And this is, the cost of living should be there. Poverty should not be there. War should not be there. Which means something is rotten at the top, at the head. And that's what I'm talking about. You see, in my opinion, the majority of people at the head of the fish is rotten. They shouldn't be there. We need to find a way of actually healing the system to remove people who are rotten at the head. Remove fishes whose heads are rotten. At the United Nations and the European Union and every country, the peacekeeping budget for the 2021-2022 fiscal year is 6.38 billion, supporting 75,224 personnel deployed in 10 missions worldwide. The UN Peace Corps operations are funded by assessments using a formula derived from the regular funding scale that includes a weighted surcharge for the 5 permanent Security Council members who must approve all key peacing operations. These surcharge services are offset discounted peacekeeping assessment rate for less developed countries. So the conversation there is saying the less developed countries are paying less. That's if they are paying less, because the system of capitalism makes sure countries who are poor actually are paying more. Because even if you see that a poor country is paying less. In terms of the disparity of wealth between the rich and the poor in countries, by default of the system of capitalism, the poor always pay more. In countries or poor nations where the majority of the population are still poor, every time the government put taxes, the poor people are taxed more. Actually, rich people don't pay taxes at all. Super rich do not, which are actually the few. Because the system, the systemic argument is that a few people should have power, and power is controlled by wealth. That's why the system is designed to give wealth to a few and not the many. To take actually wealth away from the majority of the population and give it, this is their definition of systemic stability, which is actually wrong. We are not even talking about people getting rich. We are talking people getting out of poverty. And people who will earn 30,000 pounds in a developed country, like Britain, United States, Russia, Ukraine, whatever, these countries actually represent a higher cost of living. Although it doesn't have to be necessarily a crisis, cost of living is always there. If it is a crisis, that means the problem is actually poverty orientated, and it's a mistake of the government, whether the government is a national government, a European Union government, or international government like the United Nations. They are all the same because they are doing the same thing. There is cooperation between them, there is harmonization. So what happens in one country happens in another country in different sizes, in different scales. So the injustice, the economic injustice must stop, and this is the product. This is actually the duty of educators, and the educators have to have the right set of philosophical understanding, and also the kind of the correct ideas, and also the impetus to actually fight for human rights. And human rights means economic justice. It means getting everybody, every 8 billion people out of poverty, especially the majority now who are languishing in poverty. If you work for a living, you're poor. Nobody should be poor. And if you work for a living, being poor, you shouldn't pay taxes. So super rich should give money freely to get people out of poverty. For example, the biggest source of the cost of living crisis is actually housing. Because, if you look at capitalism globally, the most expensive element of expenditure of family income, family financing, the most important, expensive actually housing, paying rent, or if you buy a property or building one. In Africa, in the developed world, in the developing world like Africa, in the developed world like Europe and America, property is impossible to buy. That's why rich people should give free money to the government out of their wealth. The richer they are, the more they can give. Rich people can actually give half of their money and still be super rich. They will not suffer any loss. But because they don't want to do that, they are conspiring with the government to deliberately control wealth by preventing the rest of the population from getting wealth, so that they maintain that elusive stability they created within the economic system. I say this must change, and that's why I'm talking. I believe we can change this because we are humans. This is our world, this is our inheritance. We are not going to go anywhere anytime soon quietly. We own the world. And if you think you do not value human being, you will not have no right to live, to stay alive on the earth, unless you can change. Unless you should be in prison. It doesn't matter how rich you are. The real wealth should be taken away and given to good people. Bad people should not have wealth. People who do not care about people, who do not value humanity, who value wealth more than humanity, who value power more than humanity. These are the category of people. They are not very many. They depend on their wealth. They can be overthrown in 24 hours. But now, because money controls guns and bombs, money controls the system of law, system of finance, banks, They have the power to impoverish you. They use power, wealth as weapon to destroy the majority of the population, to keep them safe, doing evil. Because you see, if you kill us, if you kill the rest of the world, you're going to kill yourself, because you are dumb. You are so insane. You can't kill people. You can't destroy people and hope. It doesn't matter who you are. If you are an alien, because this earth belongs to human. If you destroy a human, don't think you are going to remain alive. Humans will destroy you. That is the information. It doesn't matter how powerful you think you are, because you are not going to kill everybody. Even only 2 human beings remaining. Human beings, the definition of human beings are people who prioritize on humanity. That is the definition. If your priority is money, well, you are not a human being, even if you are. It means you are so corrupt that you don't qualify to be a human being. And that's why there's the cost of living, because wrong people who are evil are actually in power. And that should change, and it will change. It doesn't matter how long it takes, because we have the right to final say. It is our world, we are humans, we are here to stay. So we say, of the United Nations, the largest contributors to the United Nations peacekeeping budget for 2020-2021 are the United States of America, 27.89%, China, 15.21%, Japan, 8.56%, Germany, 6.09%, the United Kingdom, 5.79%, 78%, France, 5.61%, Italy, 3.3%. What are we? Where are we? Russia, 3.04%. Canada, 2.76%. And South Korea, 2.26%. These are the people who finance the United Nations. And thank you for supporting the United Nations. The United Nations is a good institution. We just need to change the wrong people who are running it. Special United Nations programs not included in the regular budget, such as the UNICEF and the World Food Program, are financed by voluntary contributions from member governments, corporations, and private individuals. These are actually institutional arrangements in terms of budget, in terms of funding. So we are looking at evaluations, awards, and criticism of the United Nations. We're looking at the reform of the United Nations and reform of the United Nations Security Council. Reform in terms of capitalism means taking more money away from the poor and giving it to the rich. And every time, that means intensifying the incident of capitalism, the evil version of capitalism, because wrong, evil people are still running the United Nations and the system of capitalism. Every time you hear of reform, it is bad news for the few, for the many, and good news for the many, for the few. The few get richer, the poor get poorer, and that's the meaning of reform under a corrupted system of capitalism and the United Nations. And that is consistent. The 2001 Nobel Peace Prize to the United Nations diploma in the lobby of the United Nations headquarters in New York City. And if you watch the rest of my video, the videos before this video, I have actually indicated that the United Nations is headquartered in New York. We'll look at the evaluation of the United Nations. In evaluating the United Nations as a whole, Jacques Fumaran writes that the accomplishments of the United Nations in the last 6 years are impressive in their own terms. Yes, it is impressive. It is impressively evil. That is what I say, because whatever the United Nations does will fail. It's going to hurt the majority of the population. And that's why I'm talking about the United Nations, because the United Nations has failed. It is responsible for creating the cost of living. Because the people, the individuals running it are actually evil and they are wicked because of poor education. The way to deal with wickedness is actually education, to teach wicked people how to be good. And wickedness means you don't prioritize, you prioritize wealth and power over the life of humanity. To be good, you have to prioritize the life of humanity over and above wealth and power. So we have perverts, people who are actually walking upside down. They walk with their legs in the air, they walk with their heads. They are really contradicting. They actually got it upside down to actually abuse humanity, because if you abuse majority of the population, don't think you are excluded. You, the abuser, also you are a self-abuser. And this is wrong for humanity, this is wrong for the world, this is wrong for anything we do, United Nations or otherwise. So it has to change at the humanitarian level. That is an indication that United Nations is doing something evaluatively positive. Progress in human development during the 20th century has been dramatic, and the United Nations and its agencies have certainly helped the world become a more hospitable and livable place for millions. We are 8 billion people in the world. The United Nations is catering for only millions of people to live in peace. That is because peace is elusive. The United Nations has failed, because it should now be speaking of specific figures in terms of 7 to 5 billion people are living in peace. Peace occurs when nobody is in poverty within those groups being seen as being in peace. So when the United Nations talk about peace, they talk about the few and not the many. You talk about millions and not billions of the world population. They are not even talking about 1 billion. We are 8 billion, for goodness sake. If there is peace only for the super rich, the multimillionaires and the multimillionaires, which is what capitalism does, because it is corrupt, because the United Nations is corrupt, because the people running this system are corrupt as a majority. Some people who run it are actually hamstrung, because the system is like, even if you're a good person, you can no longer do the good things. You're frustrated. Sometimes you're even good people are resigning from the system. Good people are actually leaving the system. If they're there, then they are castrated. Basically, they cannot do anything good. The system is rigged about toward evil and rigged against good. And I keep saying this over and over, that goodness means you value human life more than material life and power. It's an act of perversion to value something more than you value humanity. And that's now the prevalence of power relations in the globe, including within the United Nations, within America, within Europe, within Asia and Africa. They are all in it together. So, evaluating the first 50 years of United Nations history, the author Stanley Meisler writes that the United Nations never fulfilled the hopes of its founders, but it accomplished a great deal nevertheless, citing its role in decolonizing and its many successful peacekeeping efforts. The colonialism is fake because, you see, Africa and former colonies without power, the developing world, are still languishing under neo-colonialism. Neo-colonialism means, although colonialism appears on paper as being gone, it has actually deepened. Colonialism has deepened. That's why Africa is a slave continent. There are actually very violent dictators now being literally installed by the West and the developed countries, including Russia. We saw in Niger, they are now responsible for setting up leaders in Africa, using their power Africa is not independent. Because you see, you get your independence if you have the power to elect. Democracy has failed because of corruption in the West, in the East, in the developing and the developed world. Democracy cannot operate successfully. It is always corrupt if the people running it are corrupt by a majority. See, the people running the country are extremely corrupt. Evidence is that the world is poor. In Africa, it speaks volume. Poverty speaks volume. In the developed world, the majority of the population, 95%, are poor because they work for living. They have never attained to becoming millionaires and billionaires. You see, if they could get out of poverty, getting out of poverty means even if you don't work for living, you should not be in poverty. There should be a system of welfare which is outside work, because work doesn't pay our people out of poverty. We saw it in the UK, we saw it in America, we saw it across the globe. People who work so hard are actually the poorest. And because of the injustice, these people are actually abused. And actually they are called names. They are actually labeled as being lazy. They are not. They're the ones who work to create wealth. The people who don't work, who are actually the multimillionaires, the multi-billionaires. And this is the perversion, which is actually systemic because of the people at it. The people are the ones who need educating. I keep saying this again and again. British historian Paul Kennedy states that while the organization has suffered some major setbacks, when all its aspects are considered, the United Nations has brought great benefits to our generation and will bring benefits to our children's and grandchildren's children. He is talking about the few privileged people. United Nations has failed because the many are languished in poverty, including the cost of living. People like Paul Kennedy, they speak about himself because he's probably a multimillionaire, and the multimillionaire, he's talk about the few and not the many. The few are extremely few, less than 10% in many cases. The majority of the population are poor. So the United Nations has failed at every count. Capitalism has failed at every count. I'm not saying another system other than capitalism would succeed. The problem with capitalism is actually the merit of capitalism. If you give it something, it actually delivers it effectively. If you give it an evil, it delivers evil very effectively. Capitalism has been able to deliver evil in a particular way. And also the wealth, which is a good thing, has been weaponized by capitalism because the people who run it are actually evil people. By majority. The ultimate power running capitalism, the humanitarian power running capitalism are evil people. Because they don't value human life. They only value money, wealth, and power. And they don't want people to talk about it. They are so violent. They are murderers. I don't know who they are. Because they're invisible. They operate under the darkness. What you hear and see in the open media is actually fake news. And I'm not even Donald Trump. And sometimes when Donald Trump talks of fake news, you know, because he knows he's one of them. He knows the system. You don't become a multi-billionaire out of the blue. You have to be part of the system. Which Donald Trump is. Donald Trump, I don't know if it is holy or evil. All I know is that he is so rich. And when you talk of problem in the system, he probably knows what he's talking about. But you can't talk about evil when you are yourself evil. I'm not saying Donald Trump because I don't know if he's evil or not. Whether Donald Trump is evil or not, he has to pass the test of humanity. Does he value human life more than his wealth or his power? If the answer is yes, then he is a good man. And I don't know how to find out. Because his actions should speak louder. When he was president of America, the United States, I want to know his influence in policy, his attitude. Did he work to eradicate poverty? None of the politicians are now talking about poverty eradication except a few. And these are actually under attack. good people who actually put it as their priority to eradicate the world of poverty are under attack. And poverty means everybody should own a house in a modern world where there is wealth. Everybody should have access to healthy food. We don't want food which are contaminated with poison, chemicals. And when the government talks of taxing unhealthy food, it is actually trying to kill poor people, because poor people cannot afford to buy healthy food. If you start taxing businesses, these businesses are going to pass the cost to the customer. This will increase the cost of living. Any country where you hear the government is talking about taxing organizations, businesses who provide unhealthy food, they are actually worsening the situation. They're saying we're going to kill poor people who are the majority. We're going to kill the majority of people by raising taxes on businesses. If you want to raise taxes, nationalize the businesses providing food. Why are you privatizing businesses knowing that when you tax them, they're going to pass that taxation on to consumers? So the cost of food is going to go up because of government taxation. People who are already poor, who cannot afford food in a developed world, in a modern developed world, are going to actually suffer more. Cost of living, cost of food, cost of energy. And you see, the correction is in the first place in terms of development. The first part of correction is actually to nationalize the businesses providing energy, food, housing. You see, no private landlord should provide housing in the country. There should be left maybe 20% of private companies providing services to super rich people who can afford. The rest of the 80% of housing, 80% of energy, food, transportation, healthcare, schools should be provided by the government using public sector. So all the public providing businesses should be nationalized immediately. That's the only way to solve the problem of poverty, the problem of cost of living, the problem of corruption, which is a menace. If there is corruption within the public sector, the private sector is 1,000 times more corrupt, and their corruption impact on the many. First and ultimately, it's going to destroy the few as well. It means humanity face extinction because of our own fallacy, because of our own folly and misguided approaches. And I have to stop, because this is our world. It doesn't matter who you think you are. It doesn't matter how poor somebody is. They have the same right on earth. You think, even if people don't talk, people will always survive, and they will come back and take their country back by force if necessary. And there's nothing you can do about it. Doesn't matter how powerful you are. You can persecute people who are speaking or who are trying to set themselves free. You can do that, but you will fail. Good people will succeed in the end. We have the last say. I am a good person because I believe humanity comes first. And that's the qualification. It doesn't mean I'm perfect. I do so many bad, stupid things because I'm human. But you see, the measurement as to whether somebody is good or bad or evil. If you are good, you take as number one priority to follow humanity. In your head, in your what you say, in your behavior, and in your policy. Then French President François Hollande stated in 2012 that France trusts the United Nations. She knows that no state, no matter how powerful, can solve urgent problems, fight for development, and bring an end to all crises. France wants the United Nations to be the center of global governance. She is right, but she is wrong in substance, because people like her, unless she understands human priority, she is evil. Because she has to prove herself that she cares about people first, other than thinking about caring about wealth and power. And that's why I say it doesn't matter who you are. Whether you are an individual, especially if you are an individual in power, you have to demonstrate whatever comment you make about the United Nations. United Nations should be an organization with value, put human life first, and this should be evidenced by poverty eradication immediately. We are not going to have a UN gallivanting across the globe, doing whatever we don't even know what they do. And people remain in the crisis of the cost of living. That is unacceptable. Cost of living is caused by poverty. If you don't suffer the cost of living crisis, then it is only a matter of time. Whether you're a millionaire or multi-billionaire, you're going to suffer something else of a crisis. Because you see, madness has no boundaries. It knows no boundaries. To keep people, the majority of the population poor willfully is a form of insanity. We have psychopaths running the world. This must change, it will change. Just a matter of time. In his 1953 address to the United States Committee for United Nations Day, American President Dwight D. Eisenhower expressed his view that for all its flaws, the United Nations represents man's best organized hope to substitute the conference table for the battlefield. I hope you are right. Whatever you're trying to say, the information remains the same. We, the people, should value the people first. It's a question of priority. And this should actually manifest now. Not today, not yesterday, not tomorrow, now. The rest of the population should get out of poverty now. We need free housing for every citizen of the world. Every citizen of the world should access to free housing, free food, energy, free education, health care, and public transport education. These factors, and people who don't work, I forgot to say employment. Employment should be there. Meaningful employment without corruption, without treating employees as if they are slaves. That must stop. Otherwise, we have to shut down employment, and the government should produce a system of welfare which actually takes people out of poverty in 5 years. Everyone around the world should be taken out of poverty in 5 years, whether you create jobs or you create welfare. Everybody on welfare or on employment, self-employment, small and medium business, people who are employed should get out of poverty immediately. Using public money, using public policy. Whether you are the United Nations or a nation state, the rule applies the same. Poverty must end. The cost of living should be out of the way. Never ever. We do not want to hear anything to do with the cost of living at all. The United Nations peacekeeping missions are assessed to be generally successful. An analysis of 47 peace operations by Virginia Page Fortuna of Columbia University found that UN-led conflict resolution usually resulted in long-term peace. We will see about that. Political scientists and Lisa Altman and Desiree Nielsen of Ursula University studied 20 years of data on peacekeeping missions, concluding that they were more effective at reducing civilian casualties than counterterrorism operations by nation state. Talk about casualties. The UN has been horror stories. Capitalism has been horror stories. People who actually talk favorable about the United Nations are actually in it together with people who terrorize lives, nationally, regionally, and globally. And they are failed before they have even started. They have been going on for decades. People have been dying left, right, center. We are not standing still. Poverty is wrong and it is to stop. It is willful. It is incompetence. It's actually sabotaging the society and human life because of one reason. We have refused to value the life of a person. We value wealth and power. We think people are actually nothing. We think people are enslaved. We are not. We are free. And we will demonstrate our freedom. Whether we are poor or rich, whether we are strong or weak, we will succeed. We will win. Although you persecute us, although you kill us, although you destroy us, even only two of us left. Be careful. If you are wrong, if you don't actually value the life of a human being, you are going to fail and we are going to get rid of you. Doesn't matter how long it takes in this generation, in the next generation, in the next generation, humanity will prevail. And so we are looking at the United Nations as a factor of globalization. Georgetown University Professor Lisa Howard postulates that United Nations peacekeeping operations are more effective due to their emphasis on verbal persuasion, financial inducements, and coercion short of offensive military force, including surveillance and arrests, which are likelier to change the behavior of warring parties. The law and brute force may mitigate the situation temporarily, but authentic education is the medicine and the mode of solution, a peace-bringing solution we should prefer. And education should be based on the cultural economy, which is actually the valuing of humanity as a priority. We're looking at awards. A number of agencies and individuals associated with the United Nations have won Nobel Peace Prize in recognition of their work. Two Secretaries General, Dag Hammarskjöld and Kofi Annan, were each awarded the prize, as were Ralph Bunche, the United Nations negotiator, Rene Cousin, and contributed to the Universal Declaration of Human Rights, and American Secretary of State Cordell Hull for his role in the organization funding. Lester B. Pearson, the Canadian Secretary of State for External Affairs, was awarded the prize in 1957 for his role in the organization, the United Nations' first peacekeeping force to resolve the Suez crisis. The Suez crisis was in Africa, in Egypt, I think, in northern Africa. And so, UNICEF won the prize in 1965, the International Labour Organization in 1969, the United Nations Peacekeeping Forces in 1988, the International Atomic Energy Agency, which reports to the United Nations in 2005, and the UN supported organization for the prohibition of chemical weapons in 2013. The United Nations Commissioner for Refugees was awarded the prize in 1954 and 1981, becoming one of the only two special recipients to win the prize twice. The United Nations as a whole was awarded the prize in 2001, sharing it with Annan. In 2007, the IPCC received the prize for their efforts to build up and disseminate greater knowledge about man-made climate change and to lay foundations for the measures that are needed to counteract such change. If we are going to deal with the problem of climate change, we have to do it in such a way that it doesn't destroy the life of human beings. That will also be a type of evil we should avoid. Let's look at some criticisms. Marking of the United Nations 70th anniversary in Budapest in 2015. In a sometimes misquoted statement, American President George W. Bush stated in February 2003, referring to the United Nations uncertainty toward Iraqi provocations under the Saddam Hussein regime, that free nations will not allow the United Nations to fade into history as an ineffective, irrelevant, debating society. That was some of the criticism. But my criticism is different of the United Nations or any other system, including system of capitalism. You have heard it if you have been watching this video. If you have been watching this video, subscribe to this channel and share with family and friends. In 2020, former American President Barack Obama, in his memoir Promised Land, noted in the middle of the Cold War, the chances of reaching any consensus had been slim, which is why the United Nations had stood idle as Soviet tanks rolled into angry or US planes dropped napalm on the Vietnamese countryside. Even after the Cold War, divisions within the Security Council continued to hamstring the United Nations' ability to tackle problems. Its member states tackle either the means or the collective will of to reconstruct failing states like Somalia or prevent an ethnic slaughter in places like Sri Lanka. Since its founding, there have been many calls for reform of the United Nations, but little consensus on how to do so. Some want the United Nations to play a greater or more effective role in world affairs, while others want its role reduced to humanitarian work. Representation and structure. Core features of the United Nations are prioritized, such as the veto privileges of some nations in the Security Council are often described as fundamentally undemocratic, contrary to the United Nations mission and a main cause of inaction on genocide and crimes against humanity. Jack Formaran stated that the most enduring divide in views of the United Nations in the North-South split between richer northern nations and developing southern nations. Southern nations tend to favor a more empowered United Nations with a stronger General Assembly, allowing them the greatest voice in world affairs, while northern nations prefer an economically laissez-faire UN that focuses on transnational threats such as terrorism. I refer you to the comments I made before to link it with this section of commentary because it actually there's relevance there. If you're watching, thank you for carrying on this far. Subscribe to this channel if you haven't subscribed. There have also been numerous calls for United Nations Security Council membership to be increased for different ways of electing the United Nations Secretary General and for the United Nations Parliamentary Assembly. Exclusion of countries. After World War II, the French Committee of National Declaration was laid to be recognized by the United States as the government of France, and so the country was initially excluded from the conferences that created the new organization. Future French President Charles de Gaulle criticized the United Nations, famously calling it the machine contraption, and was not convinced that a global security alliance would help maintain world peace, preferring direct defense treaties between countries. Since 1971, the Republic of China, also known as Taiwan, has been excluded from the United Nations and consistently denied membership in its application. So, the United Nations officially adheres to the One China policy endorsement by most member states, which recognizes the People's Republic of China as the only legitimate Chinese government. Critics allege that this position reflects the failure of the organization's developmental goals and guidelines, and it garnered renewed scrutiny during the COVID-19 pandemic, when Taiwan was denied membership into the World Health Organization despite its relatively effective response to the virus. Support for Taiwan's inclusion is subject to the pressure from the People's Republic of China, which regard the territories to be administered by Taiwan as their own territory. Let's look at the independence of the United Nations. Throughout the world, the Cold War, both the United States and the Soviet Union repeatedly accused the United Nations of favoring the other. There's a lot of politicking by big powers, but that is another issue. If you listen to the previous in this video, link this to them because they are related. in 1950, the Soviet Union boycotted the organization in a protest to China's seat at the United Nations Security Council being given the anti-communist Republic of China. 3 years later, the Soviets effectively forced the resignation of United Nations Secretary General Sergei Lee by refusing to acknowledge his administration due to his support of the Korean War. Ironically, the United States has simultaneously scrutinized the United Nations for employing communists and Soviet sympathizers following the high-profile accusation that Olga, he is an American who had taken part in the establishment of the United Nations, had been a Soviet spy. American Senator Joseph McCarthy claims that the United Nations Secretariat under Secretary General Lee harbored American communists, leading to further pressure that the United Nations chief resign. See, the idea of communism and capitalism is mythical. Because you see, capitalists and communists, whoever they are, have been working to do the same thing. You see, there is nothing wrong with communism, there's nothing wrong with capitalism. The people there should be educated culturally to bring peace. And I will say it in the opening, I will continue to say it throughout this program. The United States showed nation opposition to the United States in the 1960s, particularly amongst conservatives, with groups such as the John Birch Society stating that the organization was an instrument of communism. Popular opposition to the United Nations was expressed through bumper stickers and signs with slogans such as "Get the United States out of the United Nations" and "The United Nations out of the United States," and you can't spell communism without the United Nations. National sovereignty. Let's look at that. In the United States, they are well concerned about supposed threat to national sovereignty, most notably promoted by the John Birch Society, which mounted a nationwide campaign in opposition to the United Nations during the 1960s. You see, you cannot have globalization with national sovereignty. That is something people should understand. The United Nations is an instrument of globalization. I think globalization is a good thing because it brings the globe together. The people of the world can unite to solve world problems. The problem with anything done, whether globally or within sovereignty, outside sovereignty, is when people running the system are evil, and evil is defined in terms of humanity. If you value humanity as of your priority, number one priority, then you are a good person. You are evil if you actually value money and power and wealth over and above people. You kill people like there is no tomorrow in order to maintain status quo, in order to look after your wealth. You kill innocent people across the globe. And that is actually a cultural failure in the economic sense. In terms of progress, we need to change that immediately. The cost of living is evidence of what I'm talking about. The 2007 version of the bill, H.R. 1146, was authored by the United States Representative Ron Paul to affect the United States withdrawal from the United Nations. It would repeal various laws pertaining to the United Nations, terminate authorization for funds to be spent on the United Nations, terminate the United Nations presence on American property, and withdraw diplomatic immunity for United Nations employees. It will provide up to 2 years for the United States to withdraw. The Yale Law Journal cited the act as proof that the United States complaints against the United Nations have intensified. Because America wants to have its cake and eat it, it wants to control the United Nations, because America is actually the mother and father of globalization. It is very rich for the United States, or at least some individuals who think they are born to rule or to conquer or to enslave, to be masters. I don't talk about the United Nations in the ways which are totally irrelevant, because the United Nations is there to promote globalization. And America is pro-globalization. Capitalists are pro-globalization. They just think United Nations should be funded by other countries, not America. They don't talk about money. And this money, they want it for power and to create more wealth. And they don't care about people. People like that don't care about people. It's contradiction in terms. The most recent iteration as of 2022 is HR 7806, introduced by Mike D. Rogers. We look at some bias. The United Nations attention to Israel's treatment of Palestinians is considered excessive by a range of critics, including Israeli diplomatic goal, British scholar Robert S. Wistrick, American legal scholar Alan Dershowitz, Australian political Mark Dreyfus, and the Anti-Defamation League. In September 2015, Saudi Arabia Faisal bin Hassan Trad was elected chair on an advisory committee in the United Nations Human Rights Council, move criticized by the Human Rights Group. I don't know what is wrong with the Middle East. The Middle East has been the cauldron of global violence and tragedies. I have never seen a region more violent. Israel, the Arab world, they should sort out their situations. You see, they kill people like I don't even know, like insects. They don't care about people. The Arabs, the Israelis, the Russians, they are the ones to go to school as a priority to learn the value of humanity. They learn the value of the cultural economy, the new cultural economy. Like I said, I've been saying on this video. If Israel and the Arabs do not learn the new cultural economy or the cultural economy, then they are going to be doomed, and they are going to destroy the world with them. They are very suicidal, and if you just link around Israel and the Middle East, you're probably going to go extinct. And that is the violence in the Middle East is unsustainable. The violence anywhere else is unsustainable. You see, we face extinction. There's no peace for the wicked, and that should and will stop. Effectiveness. According to the international relations scholar Edward Locke, the United States has preferred a feeble United Nations in major projects undertaken by the organization to forestall UN interference with or resistance to American policies. You see, America, like I said, want to have a cake and eat it. The mother and the father of all United Nations, the United States. Anyone, the United States, is America behave like a spoiled brat. You know, you don't want his cake and eat it. And you want other people to comply with the UN as strictures, compliance to do with environment. He doesn't want to be involved. Or some extremists who are so unrealistic, who are so perverted within the scholastic community, policy makers. America is a mess. The globe is a mess. We need to tidy up and begin to be truthful and actually practice some level of sanity. We need peace, not war. The cost of living is evident of war. We need to get rid of poverty. We need to get rid of violence. We can't be killing people. When are we going to stop? Every human being is responsible, and that's what I'm talking about, effectiveness of the United Nations. According to international relations scholar Edward, I already seen probably that, Edward Locke, the United States has preferred a feeble. So the last thing the United States wants is an independent United Nations throwing its weight around, Locke said. Similarly, former United States Ambassador to the United Nations Daniel Patrick Moynihan explained that the Department of State desired that the United Nations prove utterly ineffective in whatever measure they took to. They just don't like the United Nations. The United Nations is not the problem. The problem are people who run it. If the United Nations is wrong, then America is wrong. Capitalism is wrong. Globalization is wrong. You can't have your cake and eat it. You need to clean your own home. You need to start valuing humanity. get rid of human wrong, promote human rights. The cost of living is a form of human wrong. This topic, this exercise is about the cost of living. It may not look and feel like it, but if you follow this video and think a little longer and harder, you will find that what I'm saying makes a lot of sense. In 1994, former special representative of the Secretary General of the United Nations Somalia, Mohammed Sahon, published Somalia, The Missed Opportunities, a book in which he analyzes the reason for the failure of the 1992 United Nations intervention in Somalia. Sahon claims that between the start of the Somalia civil war in 1988 and the fall of the Siad Barre regime in January 1991, the United Nations missed at least 3 opportunities to prevent human rights tragedies. When the United Nations tried to provide humanitarian assistance, they were totally outperformed by the NGOs, whose competence and dedication sharply contrasted with the United Nations excessive caution and bureaucratic ineffectiveness. The United Nations is a multi-power, it's probably the most powerful institution on earth. NGOs are increasingly becoming more powerful than even nation states because of wealth. And this is a good thing for the United Nations, a good thing for the NGOs. The problem, it doesn't matter how you look at it, are the people working there. And people at the top. The majority, in my opinion, are actually evil people. These are people who do not have no respect for people. If you meet them, they just so nasty. And they are so poorly educated because they do not actually value humanity. They have no respect for people. They think people are actually nothing. That's why they have decided to control the global system and exclude the majority of the population out of global world resources. And that should and will stop. Because you see, if it doesn't, humanity, including the wicked and the good, are going to go extinct. And that's the reality. So good people should stand up and speak in favor of nothing about humanity as a priority. And this is actually a consistent proposition, which is at the basis of my arguments. And I am right. And if you are listening to this video, start thinking about it. Support this channel. We are small, but we are going to grow. When the United Nations tried to provide humanitarian assistance, they were totally outperformed. So Shannon warned that if radical reform were not undertaken, the United Nations would continue to respond to such crises with inept improvisation. Beyond specific instances or areas of alleged ineffectiveness, some scholars debate the overall ineffectiveness of the United Nations. Adherence to the realist school of international relations take a pessimistic position, arguing that the United Nations is not an effective organization because it is dominated and constrained by great powers. These powers are within the United Nations. These powers are within capitalism. These powers are within nation states. And we said previously about sovereignty. Some people are so upset with the idea of sovereignty. People like Americans, people like the Europeans, Africans, you want to be part of the global society, and you still you ask for your sovereignty. You need to think more clearly. You cannot have your cake and eat it. And that's what is the problem with one of the most, if not the most powerful institution on earth, the United Nations. The inefficiency and corruption in the United Nations. Critics have also accused the United Nations bureaucratic inefficiency, waste, and corruption. In 1976, the General Assembly established the Joint Inspection Unit to seek out inefficiencies within the United Nations system. During the 1990s, the United States withheld deals citing inefficiency and only started their repayment on the condition that a major reform initiative be introduced. In 1994, the Office of the Internal Oversight Services, the OIOS, was established by the General Assembly to serve as an efficiency watchdog. In 2004, the United Nations faced accusation that it recently ended oil for food program, in which Iraq had been allowed to trade oil from basic needs to relieve the pressure of sanctions had suffered from widespread corruption, including billions of dollars of kickbacks. Because of privatization, you give public money, which is actually food for oil. Oil is a public asset. Food is a public asset. Because of privatization, these people are thieves without numbers. They steal every money across the globe, in not just one country, in every country. Corruption is the mother of capitalism, is the mother and father of all capitalism of the world. Is the corruption encompassing actually destroying public services, because public sector has been privatized within the United Nations, within nation states. It's the same old story and the same old insanity. An independent inquiry created by the United Nations found that many of its officials have been involved in the scheme and raised significant questions about the role of Kojo Annan and the son of Kofi Annan, Kofi Annan. The United Nations, the model of the United Nations, how it is designed, how it is shaped. The United Nations has inspired the extracurricular activity model. United Nations, the MUN. The MUN is a simulation of the United Nations activity based on the United Nations agenda and following the United Nations procedure. It's a good system on merit, but the people working in it are corrupt and actually barbarians. People who control it. It is usually attended by high school and university students who organize conferences to stimulate the various UN committees to discuss important issues of the day. Today, MUN educates tens of thousands on the activities of the United Nations around the world. MUN has many famous and notable alumni, such as the former United Nations Secretary General Ban Ki-moon. We come to the end of discussing the United Nations. Like I said, the United Nations is a good organization. Capitalism is good. Every time humanity designs a system is the best, because humanity is the best. We have everything it takes to be the best in everything we do. We have the capacity to build peace, to eradicate poverty. We are humans. We have the last say. We are actually perfect. We are able to achieve perfection. We saw it in technology, science, engineering. We saw it in every element of our activity. We can achieve perfection. We have everything we need. We are humans, for goodness sake. When we come together with humanity in mind as a priority, we become culturally sound. We become culturally literate, or even experts, to look after humanity as a matter of priority, to come together, to look after one another, to make connection with like-minded individuals, to design working plans, to do evaluation of our work. We can do that. We are experts in every field, in organization, in society, in science, technology, engineering, name it, security, national security, food, energy, nothing. We are able to actually be strong, to gain strength. We are able as humanity to achieve peace, to achieve normalcy and be happy. And so we will. And we will have the last say. That's why I'm speaking to everyone under the sound of my voice. And subscribe to this channel. Thank you for watching this far. Click the notification bell and share with family and friends. I will see you in the next one. We will introduce a new context, but we will continue to talk about the cost of living. Thank you. See you in the next one. Thank you. Bye bye.